One. What's up, everybody? Stephen A. Smith, ESPN in the house. You know, I travel all over the country. I have an absolutely positively wonderful time covering NBA, covering NFL, covering Major League Baseball. Hell, if you'd be surprised, I might decide to talk about hockey one day. Anything's possible. But I tell you this much. I tell you how you can enjoy yourself. Make sure you watch my man Carl Pratt on Cap Sports. You see it right here. Make sure you check my man out. Support him. Good dude. Take it easy. Peace.
Well, we certainly appreciate the endorsement by Stephen A. and welcome to another edition of our program. Tonight, edition number 1159 of the Video Sports Page. I am your host, Carl Pratt, along with Rich Goulart and Will McKinney. Glad you're along for the program where the emphasis is on local sports. Now, during this week's edition of our program, we'll update you on several successful spring sports teams in our viewing area. As you know, our program airs on Thursday nights and Sunday nights and Friday afternoons. We're on both Comcast and Verizon. When we go to 13 different communities throughout the South Shore, so we may be talking about your favorite team. All right, before we talk about the high school teams, I can tell you via videotape, I have a handful of interviews to share with you during this week's edition of our program. There's playoffs going on at the TD Garden. That means the Knicks are in town, and the last time they were in town, which I mean last Friday, I should say last Sunday, I had an opportunity to talk with Marcus Camby, a 17-year NBA veteran, formerly of UMass. Then that night, the Boston Bruins were in action as they played their final regular season game, and I had a chance to talk to Sean Thornton. From the local front, I'll replay an interview with Eagles head coach Dwayne Follett. His team is very surprising these days. You know what? Year after year, they've had great success with Plymouth North baseball. This year, they were a young team, but things are really starting to come together now. They're currently in first place in the Atlantic Coast League at the midway point in the schedule. And before we say goodnight tonight, if we do have time, I'll replay an interview I picked up with Tina Cervasio. She's a former sideline reporter for NESN covering Boston Red Sox baseball. She's from the New Jersey area, but she has gone back home. She now works for Fox Sports in New York, as well as Madison Square Garden Sports, so we'll try to sneak her in. But right off the top, let's quickly talk about the Carver girls softball team. We want to congratulate head coach Chuck Green's team that earlier this week posted a nice come-from-behind victory against East Bridgewater. Final count there was 7-6. It was Amy Ellis who had a clutch two-run double in the last inning to lead the Crusaders to that come-from-behind victory, which made it sweet because the first time these two schools met, it was East Bridgewater defeating the Carver Crusaders by the slaughter roll. So with that victory, Carver remains above 500. They're 5-4 in the South Shore League, 7-6 overall. All you have to do is go 500 on the season, and you'll make it into the postseason. All right, let's take this opportunity to call on our guys behind the scenes to push some buttons. Let me replay the first interview I picked up at the TD Garden. Let's call on our guys to roll the videotape.
Thanks. Just talk about the fact that it's a whole different season once the playoffs come, and even though you don't have any momentum, the light does go on once the second season begins.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think the last couple of games we did not get the results we want, but it's because we haven't put pucks in the net, not for lack of playing the right way. I think we've played with emotion. We've been really good on the forecheck. We just we're not burying on the numbers of opportunities we're getting, and we're getting a ton. If we bury on a few of those, then it's a whole different ball game. So you're right, it's a whole new season. But as far as momentum, I actually like the way, other than that Philly game, I like the way we played the last 6 or 7 games, if you take that one out of there. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm sure we can work on a few things like anyone, but we're going in the right. We've been going in the right direction for the last little bit. But like you said, it's a fresh start, so we'll get rid of all the negativity, get ready for Toronto.
Let's talk a little bit, if we can, about when you face somebody like Toronto. You've had good success against them this year.
Same thing. It's a new season. All that doesn't matter. They're a team. I mean, I'm from there. They haven't made the playoffs in a number of years. That whole city's going to be excited and behind them. They're going to be excited. They're well coached. I mean, we got a cup together in Anaheim. He's a very, very smart coach, and they're an extremely hard-working team. He gets the most out of his players, so this is going to be a very tough series.
Let's talk about this if you can, and for your benefit, I do more of a magazine type show, not a news type thing. So I'm looking at the angle here for you as a veteran. You've been playing for many years. How much fun it is to make the playoffs, and even though it's a job, and to be part of a special so-called second season.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I still really enjoy the game. You play for this time of year. This is the greatest. I only got a few years left, so every year you think about what you're going to do at the end, and I'd like to be remembered for having good playoffs, and hopefully, I mean, it's too early to talk about winning it, but I would definitely want to have a strong showing here. I love this time of year.
Let me ask you, Sean, the way you like to mix it up and play physical. It's bad enough that you got to go length to length here on the ice and put everything out on there. But I'm sure once you do get involved in a fight or some sort of roustabout, for the lack of a better term, that takes a lot out of the body as well, doesn't it?
I train pretty hard in the off season to get my body ready for those things. I mean, I box, you do 6 rounds of sparring and 6 or 8 rounds of mitts after. It's a lot tougher than just fighting for a minute on the ice. So I try and put my body in a position that it can take the abuse of a season like this. But, I mean, yeah, it's not easy, but I definitely try and set myself up so I'm okay.
Let me ask you, when you were growing up, who was that first bigger-than-life figure when you broke into the NHL and you moved on the other side, or you used to stay the weekend while so
it's my first training camp in Chicago. I mean, I was already in my 5th year pro, I think, but Bob, my roommate, he walked in the room, and I didn't know the room was he was a big idol of mine, and I just watched him walk in, and I was like, holy, and then he wanted to let Janks. I'd say.
And how about the fact that people don't get a chance to talk to you like I do, and they see you just as a guy that likes to really mix it up and enjoy it? The fans I'm talking about. What would you like people to know about Shawn Thornton?
Tough question. I think, I try and give back as much as possible. That's probably what I'd like to be remembered for, is how much community work I do. That's my biggest thing right now.
Listen, appreciate your time and good luck in that so-called second season.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sports page, former
getting ready for Game 2 of the first-round playoff series against Toronto. That'll take place on Saturday. All right, let's go back to the local front. We started out by talking about some high school softball. Let's continue on that path. Pembroke had a lopsided victory this week, knocking off Whitman-Hanson 13-1. The Titans got a super game from Danielle Dupree. Danielle went 4 for 5 in the game and had 5 RBI, as Pembroke still has its sights on a postseason berth. And the Plymouth North Eagles had quite an effort, knocking off Dennis Yarmouth 9-4 this week. Casey Dory and Emily Ricardo combined for 8 hits in the game. And the Eagles still remain above 500 in Atlantic Coast League softball. They're 4-2. Overall, their mark is 5-7. How about Coach Mike Brennan's team from Silver Lake? Another victory by the Lakers. They're having a terrific season, and they're beating up on everybody. They're not winning 6-2 and 8-4 and 9-5. How about 17-1 against Quincy? They're scoring all sorts of runs this year. If you're a pitcher on Silver Lake, you got to be pleased. You're getting all sorts of offensive support. With the victory this week against Quincy, Silver Lake is now 10-1 overall. With the 10th victory, Silver Lake is qualified for the postseason. Check this now, for the 24th year in a row under head coach Mike Brennan. Allie Macy led the way for Silver Lake with that offensive barrage. She had a 3-run home run, and I might spend the rest of the show if I mention everybody else in that offense for Silver Lake. But congratulations to the Lakers, 17-1 winners against Quincy. All right, let's go back to our videotape now. I told you about 2 playoff games, or at least 2 events that took place at the Garden last Sunday. It's kind of rare, but it happens. It was a basketball game in the afternoon and a hockey game at night. Well, that playoff game last Sunday afternoon, Game 4, Celtics against the New York Knicks. And I had a chance to catch up with Marcus Camby from UMass, and now with about his 5th team in the NBA.
Okay, joining me this week on the Video Sports page, former UMass star, this is Marcus Camby. I saw you wrestling with some tickets before we went on here. Doesn't take long to chew them all up.
Yeah, me being from the area and going to school up this way, I got a lot of family and a lot of friends that's excited to see me play and excited to see a playoff type atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to the game.
This was your foundation, UMass. Obviously, you know this area. What do you think about it? You go to a lot of different cities. Is it a little different when you see Boston on the schedule?
Oh, it's always different because it gives me an opportunity to see a lot of family and a lot of friends down the road. For Connecticut, my immediate family can drive up to see me play. And being here in the Massachusetts, Boston, a lot of my former colleagues and a lot of my former teammates and people I went to school with get the opportunity to see me play once again.
You know about the tragedy that hit Boston. You're very familiar with this area. What went through your mind when you heard about it?
I was definitely sick to my stomach. I immediately started getting on the phone, calling and texting all my friends in the area to make sure they and their loved ones were all right. And, through the strength of God, everyone was fine, but it was such a tragic thing, senseless act.
Let me ask you, think about basketball and how good it's been to Marcus Camby and his family.
It's been great. It's always been a dream of mine to play in the NBA, but, probably every little boy dream is to play a professional sport growing up, but to actually live it and go through it and be in the league 17 years, is definitely a blessing. I don't take any day for granted.
You talk about 17 years. Have those flown by for you? I mean, I know at times you can have highs, you can have lows, but you think 17 years. Do you sometimes, if you're on a plane and you're thinking, wow?
All the time. When I look around our locker room or the teams that I've been on and seeing all the great players I had a chance to play with and play with now, feels like a blur. But you can't tell that to my body. It definitely feels like I played 17 years.
There you go. Marcus Camby joining us this week on the Video Sports Speech. Let me ask you, back up the clock. When you first broke into the NBA, who was that first bigger-than-life figure? Maybe you used to see on the Game of the Week or ESPN, and all of a sudden you're warming up and you look and say, wow, I'm on the same court.
I was definitely, going up against Michael Jordan. I mean, he's probably everyone's idol. You look around on people's sneakers around here, you see him on the shoes and things like that, and I just thought he was a larger, polarizing figure. And especially that first time I had the opportunity to play against him was kind of surreal. Like this is a guy I idolize and watch on TV so many times. But I'm here to do my job. I'm here to compete with the best. But just sitting back and analyzing everything was definitely an honor to be on the court with him.
How about backing up to the UMass days, that great run you had there, that outstanding run? You came with such a whisker of being, the best in college basketball.
Right. I think that run that we had was a great one, but I think it was more exciting, for the town of Amherst and the state of Massachusetts as a whole. I think during that run we breathed a lot of light, into Northeast basketball and just the excitement that the campus had and just the fanfare that we had to bring a small school like UMass onto the map. And, those times and those memories will never be forgotten by me or my teammates.
Does it surprise you what you see Coach Cal accomplished out there now and what he's doing these days and you played for him? Do you ever tweet him and say, Coach, I remember this, that?
Honestly, me and Coach probably talk 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not surprised by anything he's accomplished. He's been a winner ever since his days at UMass and, all the way up to what he's doing down there in Kentucky. And he just seems to have a knack to find a way to get the best players and get the most out of his players. To me, a lot of people always ask me what type of coach he was. I thought he was a great motivator, and he knows how to get the best out of people. And, success that he's having is what I envisioned for him having.
Let me ask you this, whether it's your own kids, whether it's nephews, nieces, cousins, video games out there, you're part of video games. Is it kind of cool in a way somebody shucks and jives with you, say, Marcus, I had you in my game, you had 7 blocks. I mean, it's just kind of a cool thing that's on the market and you're part of it. I mean, you've seen it. Does it look like you out there?
At times it does, but now with the day and age of graphics, they can get you down to a T, all the way up to your jumper, all the way down to your mustache and the facial hair and things of that nature. And it's great to have, especially for my kids when they grow older, then I can show my grandkids that, hey, your grandfather was something way back in the day. So just a lot of memories that they can have and share on.
All right, before I let you sneak away, just tell the people at home that are watching my show, whether it's high school kids or college kids, how basketball has been so important to you, and it's allowed you to have so many things in life, but it didn't come without a lot of work.
Yes, I definitely think, basketball was a platform. I think, in my opinion and through my experiences, I think without a basketball scholarship, I would not have an opportunity to go to college. So, me just making it basketball-wise wasn't just the higher echelons of what I really wanted to accomplish in life. And I use that as a platform of my education. As an education major, I really worked hard on my academics. I made the dean's list for a couple semesters, and that's something I want to fall back on. People always ask me my dreams and aspirations growing up. Yeah, my wildest dreams were to be an NBA player and play on TV and things of that nature. But
you had a backup plan.
Yeah, I really want to be a high school principal. So that's something, that I strive for throughout my education, getting my degree. And I know that once my playing days are over, which I know I'm not going to be playing forever, I can have something to fall back on. So definitely stay in school, listen to your peers, and respect everybody and their knowledge.
Well, this is what we respect about him, okay? I'm talking to him about maybe an hour before Game 4 in a playoff series. Calm as a cucumber. There's the veteran coming out of him. But he gave us some of his private and quality time, for which we appreciate. Mark, it's been fun visiting with you.
Oh, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, my man. All right, we'll continue with more, so stay with us. All right, Marcus Camby and his teammates will take on the Boston Celtics on Thursday in Game 6 of that first-round playoff series. All right, let's turn our sights back now to high school baseball. More specifically, let's talk about Silver Lake. Boy, the Lakers, under the direction of head coach Tachi, coming off their first-ever championship under Tachi's direction, but the first baseball championship for Silver Lake in 51 years. All right, now, all Silver Lake has done is go on the heels of that championship and get off to a super start. The Silver Lake baseball team 10-1 right now, following a victory 7-3 over North Quincy this week. With that victory, Mike Lundeen raised his pitching record to 4-0. And Silver Lake currently is undefeated in Patriot League baseball with a mark of 7-0. All right, the Plymouth North program, under the direction of Dwayne Follett, had a big matchup on Wednesday over at Seaver Field, hosting Dennis Yarmouth, a team they went neck and neck with during last year's run in the Atlantic Coast League. Well, the Eagles are having all sorts of success this year, posting a mark of 9-2 so far this season, and they're currently riding a 6-game winning streak. In that victory against DY, Brendan Dean had a couple of base hits and 3 RBI. The winning pitcher was Brian Christian. He had a couple of hits, and I shouldn't say a couple of hits. He limited DY to 2 hits, and he struck out 7 along the way. Now, on Wednesday, I had a chance to catch up with head coach Dwayne Follett, and we talked about the season to this point, and I asked him if he was surprised at the team's success. Okay, let's continue with our program now. Let's spend some time with head coach Dwayne Follett. And as we tape this interview, it's a Tuesday afternoon after a practice. Your team is 8-2. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means we've had a pretty good start, but we have a lot of room for improvement.
Even though you got a lot of room for improvement, are you surprised at what these kids have accomplished to this point?
I wouldn't say surprised. I guess the word is satisfied. I mean, I'm fine with us being 8-2. I'm really happy with us being 5-0 in the league. But I even told the kids today, it was one of our topics. I mean, how much better we can get in all phases of the game.
Yeah, but doesn't that make you feel pretty good to be 8-2 and say, you know what, this team isn't even close to what they could be?
Well, yeah, it makes you feel good, but we expect that around here. We've got great players in this program, and we expect to win. So I wouldn't say I'm definitely not satisfied. We got a lot of room for improvement.
All right, so let's talk if we can. One of those losses comes to Silver Lake that the last time I looked, Silver Lake was 8-1 and having one of their finest seasons. So it's not like you got upset by somebody that was 2-7.
No, I mean, the 2 losses, we lost to a Division I New Bedford team by 2 runs, and we lost in extra innings to Silver Lake, and we're ahead in the last inning, 1-0. So, we're close to being undefeated, but there's also wins there that we could have lost. So, I mean, I think we're where we need to be, but we've got to get better.
All right, talk about a few players that are leading your team that are making you smile.
The top of the order with Ryan Moskis and Corey Boudreau has been fabulous most of the year. I mean, Moskis has 19 stolen bases through 10 games, and Boudreau's been a really big surprise in left field. He's doing a lot for us. David Murphy, 3-year senior captain, is just crushing the ball. He's got about 18, 19 RBIs. He's one hitter batting over 400 as a regular player and doing a great job. Prifty behind the plate, top 4 in the order, so that's been real good. And then Brian Christian, his second home run yesterday. So the top 5 in the order are good. Bottom 4, little inconsistent, but, getting better every day.
And obviously you have to have role players with this team because you replace so many bodies.
Yeah, we definitely do. And we're inserting a lot of young kids. Joey Walsh, the freshman. Brendan Bean, first-year starter at second base. He's being spelled by Colin Nicholas. So, there's a lot of that going on. At third base, we've been Colby Randall and Cody Farraher, a senior first-year player, came in and got a big pinch hit single yesterday. So we're getting contributions from everybody. Senior Derek Salvucci, who got into MIT, which I'm very proud to say, has been doing a good job, and Kenny Drew at first. So we don't have that same lineup like we've had in the past. We've got a lot of contributions. Your son's one of them. He got his first varsity hit the other day at Campanelli Stadium. So a lot of kids are doing a lot of good things.
How important is it for you? In the past, you've had teams that have pitched well. You've had other teams that have hit well. Now you talk about Moscas. Does he give you the type of threat that maybe you didn't have in the past on the bases?
Well, he's been doing it around here for a few years. As a sophomore, he's just a pinch runner for us. So on the base pass, he's been doing it a lot. But, here's the key to our team, Kyle. We have very talented pitching, but they're throwing a lot of balls. We've been walking way too many kids. And once we start throwing strikes and pounding the zone, I think we're going to be really tough. And that comes for all pitchers in our program. We've had the one kid that's been phenomenal is Kyle Mann, freshman. He's just pounding the zone. He's 3-0. He hasn't had to let up an earned run all year. But the other kids that are very talented, Zach O'Reilly, Brian Christian, Kenny Drew, Joey Walsh have to throw more strikes. And we've got other kids behind him. Eric Cott, he throws about 88. When he figures it out, he's 6'4" lefty. So, as long as our pitchers keep improving and throw more strikes, we're going to be in really good shape.
Let's back up to that matchup with Plymouth South at this field. Christian hits a home run. I think he struck out, correct me if I'm wrong, 12 or 14 batters, and Murphy hit a couple of home runs.
Yeah, that was a good day. I mean, all the home runs were solo, so we didn't really put up that many runs, and we left some runs on the bases. But Christian did have a 12 strikeout. He only walked 4 that game, but, for us to do what we want to do, which is win an ACL title, win a state title, our pitchers have to throw more strikes.
Well, there's no secret in this area. Duane Follett's been around for many, many years. Unfortunately, to start the season, you had to be on the sidelines for the first 5 games, but you had to be happy when you came to practices in between those games. Team got off to a good start.
Well, let me tell you, there aren't too many programs in the state that can miss their head coach and not miss a beat. I mean, I have great people working in this program. We have Pat Lamb's been with me for 23 years, so he knows what I like to do. He just continued that. It hurt, but I made a mistake and I paid for it, and we're moving on. I mean, if that's the worst thing that happens in my life, I'm a pretty lucky guy.
Exactly. All right, let's talk if we can. We're taping this interview on a Tuesday afternoon following an Eagles workout on Wednesday, and of course I'll report to the people at home on our program. But you go up against DY. The last few years you've had some good matchups with DY.
Yeah, we lost twice in the regular season in them last year, and then we got them in the tournament and spanked them. So, I mean, the coach of DY is a guy by the name of Paul Funk, who's also their football coach. And to be honest with you, Kyle, he and I are very close friends. We fish together in the summer. We spend time together. Our families have done things together. We're really close. We coach the same. We demand a lot out of our kids. He's a great coach, and they're going to come in here ready to beat us.
Well, listen, we appreciate your time as always. Keep it rolling 8-2 as we tape this interview. By the time I put it on the air, hopefully it'll be 9-2, but keep it rolling.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. Always a pleasure.
You bet. Duane Follett joining us once again this week on the Video Sports page.
Okay, while we've got an opportunity, we're on the subject of Plymouth North sports. Let's talk about the boys' tennis team. What a season they got rolling. 10-2 overall, 7-0 in Atlantic Coast League tennis. Matt Doherty, Jack Moore, and Dan Tocco were all winners as the Eagles posted another impressive victory earlier this week against DY. Over at Duxbury, their boys' tennis team is 9-1 following a 5-love victory against Hanover. And in the Plymouth North, Plymouth South track meet this week, Plymouth South wins on both ends. The boys win it 88-48. Jason McHugh and Colin McHugh were double winners. Dylan Auction, you remember him for scoring 40 touchdowns in the football season. He won the 100-yard dash in a time of 10.9 seconds. And the girls from South defeated North 71-65. Allie Messina won the 400 hurdles and the triple jump. Maddie Braz was a winner in the shot and the discus. All right, one more interview to share with you. It's with Tina Savasio. I caught up with her at the Celtics playoff game against the Knicks. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. Prior to Game 4, Celtics-Knicks, I'm pleased to be joined by a young lady we met several years ago when she first came to Fenway for Nesson. Tina Savasio, you're back home as far as I'm concerned.
No, it's great to be back in Boston, Carl. I get to come back anytime the Knicks play the Celtics. I did a TNT game here a couple of weeks ago, and then every summer I come back for a Red Sox series just to watch the team from a fan's perspective.
It's got to be a whole lot different for you. You had a chance to go back home in New York.
It was great. It was great to get a job back where in the city where I'm from. I was born right across the river in New Jersey. I live 6 miles from Madison Square Garden where I work, and that's where my parents are, my sister, my whole family. So it was good to work in the city where they all are.
What about your storied franchise and your time here with Boston? It wasn't like you did, for the lack of a better term, the White Sox or the Minnesota Twins. You were in a big market here.
I was just bragging to Alan Houston, who's the assistant general manager of the Knicks, how I have a Red Sox World Series ring. And so when I was here, I covered champions. So I bragged to a lot of the players, and it's very special to me. I was here 2 very special years, 2006 and then 07 when the Red Sox won. And it was, you can't replicate what I did, and you can't even ask for it. It's not even something you dream about because it just happens. I got to cover Clay Buchholz no-hitter. So it's a time in my life I will never forget and that I always talk about every day.
So what happened when you went back home and being part of championships and rubbing shoulders with some of the best in the business? Were you a different reporter, a more relaxed reporter when you went back home?
Well, I think a different reporter because I have a different perspective. I know what it takes to win a championship, and I know when there's an all-star player and a great player. I mean, with that team, with the way David Ortiz was playing and Jason Varitek was the captain, you had Curt Schilling in that rotation. He came back from injury. There were so many stories that year. So I knew when I first went to the Knicks, they were not good. I know the Celtics fans remember the good old days when the Knicks would barely win 22 games a season. And I just knew it. And I remember this year during training camp, I said, now I'm covering a basketball team. Now I'm covering a team that could contend for something. So I knew that because of my experience with the Red Sox.
All right, let me ask you this. Well, we'll certainly play that entire interview with Tina Savasio in weeks to come. Loads and loads of enthusiasm, and she was a big fan favorite when she was the sideline reporter for the Red Sox. Well, we're just about out of time. We'd like to thank you for yours. Another edition of the Video Sports Page is in the can, as they like to say. A big thank you tonight goes out to Tim Ante. He filmed our interviews for us with head coach Dwayne Follett. We also want to continue and thank Rich Goulart behind the scenes, along with Will McKinney. They make it all happen for us here in the Carver Community Access Television Studios. I've been your host, Carl Pratt. Health and wisdom from the Video Sports Page.